I got started in this whole e-commerce and dropshipping world over 6 years ago, and I've worked with hundreds of individuals and business owners since. I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything you could possibly imagine in between in the e-commerce industry. And I constantly see brand owners making the same mistakes over and over that are preventing them from building the business of their dreams. And I don't want you to make those same mistakes that I've made and many people have made before me. So today I'm gonna share 5 easily avoidable and preventable mistakes that most people make on their e-commerce journey so that you can skip through all the bullshit that most e-commerce brand owners are afraid to talk about because it's not as glamorous as a staged 24-hour dropshipping challenge here on YouTube. All right, this first one is gonna piss a lot of people off, especially some of you that are watching this very video. And it's this idea that if you watch a ton of YouTube videos that you're magically going to be an expert at a specific subject. So for example, let's say you just watched my recent product research video on how I broke down a software that I like to use in order to find winning products, some of the product validation characteristics I like to look for, etc. Now you might have watched that video and said, okay, cool. I now have inherited the skill of knowing how to find a winning product, but you haven't, because if you did, you would actually go out and you'd be able to find winning products repeatedly, which you haven't immediately after watching the video. You might have a better understanding of how to approach the product research processes, but if you don't actually take action on the substance within that video, and you don't take those golden nuggets and actually apply them into your business or into your life, you basically haven't learned anything, right? The definition of learning is same condition, new behavior. So Alex Hormozi has a great expression that says, hey, if you and me are in the same room and I hold up a red card and I slap you in the face, and you're like, what the hell, man? And then I do the exact same thing again, right? I hold up a red card, I slap you in the face. By the third time I hold up that red card, you're probably gonna duck, or you're gonna run away, or you're gonna leave the scene to some capacity. And on that third instance, you will have finally learned. So again, let's say before this video, you opened up your Shopify dashboard, your Facebook ads, your TikTok ads, you stared blankly and you said, I don't really know what to do. And then you watch this video and you get a ton of motivation, but there's actually nothing tangible that you've taken from it to go back to that same condition and environment of your Shopify dashboard, your Facebook, and your TikTok ads manager, and you haven't actually changed anything about your behavior. That means you didn't learn shit. And that's not the objective of the videos that I'm creating. I want you to learn something. I want you to apply the things that it is that I'm sharing with you so you don't have to make a lot of these mistakes that I'm gonna be sharing with you today. So again, just to drive this one point home, make sure that anything that you theoretically or conceptually learn through the form of YouTube, a course, coaching program, whatever it is, and make sure that you relentlessly execute and you change your behavior within your business or your personal life. Otherwise, you will have learned nothing. All right, enough of that. The second biggest mistake that I see people make is picking products based on emotion and not based off of logical product validation, consumer psychology. Now, I know that sounds like a whole lot of boring hoopla, but my point here is that many people, when they pick products in industries that they're very passionate about, which there's nothing inherently wrong with. The issue with that, though, is they make decisions to test a product based on what they feel will perform well, rather than based on what the market has already validated will have the highest likelihood of performance. So you don't actually want to make a decision on some random gut feeling. You want to look into the data. You want to see what industries have performed well, what product characteristics have been tried and tested throughout the entire lifespan of Facebook advertising and TikTok advertising. And you want to lean on products that have inherent characteristics of those that have done well before that product. So what do I mean by this? If you're a golfer, you might really want to test a product that's a pair of socks with golf balls on it, right? Not that there's anything inherently wrong with it, but there might be low margins. It might be really difficult to advertise that product profitably because the unit economics of those products. You might end up spending more money on that product because you like golf and not because it makes business sense to invest money into that product because of the likelihood of positive performance. But you might not know that as a new e-commerce business owner. And so it's important to have a conservative budget and approach when it comes to testing products if you have no idea whether or not they're going to perform well or not. And my advice would be actually to test products that you might not have as much of that emotional attachment or even knowledge around, because there's a beauty in selling a product that's in a market that you're maybe unfamiliar with and that you have to learn, and you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes so that you're more customer focused than you are product focused. And another thing that I'll add regarding product testing is that most people just simply aren't testing enough products. They test 5 or 10 different products. They spend $100 on each product. So they've spent $1,000 on their business cumulatively, and then they throw in the towel because one of them didn't make them a millionaire overnight. That is not how e-commerce works. In most instances, if you are incredibly lucky and fortunate, you will stumble across one product out of maybe your first 20 or 30 that within the first week of testing and running paid traffic or organic traffic behind even gets you sales, let alone breaks even or profits. And that might sound incredibly discouraging, but that is just such like a common sense thing to me now, having been in this game for 6-7 years and talk to people who have been in this game for decades, who are able to look at business on a longer time horizon than most. Because now when I say 20 products, some of you might think that means 20 months because you're investing 1 month into a product test, when in reality, you can test one product in a singular day. And in 20 days, you can have a tremendous amount of data to work off of and to actually learn from and have that feedback loop to test better and better products, to run better and better ad creatives, to test better and better marketing strategies, etc., until you find that winning product. And you're gonna learn just as much from that one winning product that does eventually take off for you as you will from the 20 or 30 or even 40 products that you tested prior to that product. All right, number 3, I see most brand owners outsourcing the basics way too quickly without having a really strong fundamental understanding of that thing themselves. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should learn how to like edit their own videos in CapCut or in Premiere Pro, because I don't think that that is necessarily the best use of an e-commerce business owner's time, but I do think that they have to heavily invest in understanding what a good creative even looks like, or maybe even attempt to edit a couple of videos or to do research in the market on what good creatives look like before they hire a video editor. Otherwise, they're just gonna trust that that video editor is gonna do an amazing job when they might actually suck, but the brand owner has no point of reference on what good or bad actually is. They have no scale, they have no reference point. So in my opinion, especially in the beginning of a new business, you have to wear multiple hats and you have to dip your toes in different areas of the business and at least understand the foundations and the basics before you outsource. Otherwise, you can end up spending way too much money for talent that you don't even know whether or not they're doing a good or a bad job. Especially when you're a smaller business, there's no one that's going to be as passionate about completing a task in a timely manner as much as you. All right, number 4, this is probably the biggest mistake that I see people make, and it's having a lack of accountability and blaming everyone but yourself on the issues that your business is experiencing. Now, there's a couple ways to be able to increase your accountability. One is having a business partner. Another one is having a coach, being in a community surrounded by other like-minded individuals that are holding you accountable to getting stuff done and who have maybe walked the path that you're walking in before you. And one of my favorites is actually hiring a virtual assistant that is solely responsible for holding you accountable to getting shit done, right? So I actually did this last year and it increased my productivity by an unquantifiable amount. And now I pay this VA very little on a daily basis because all they have to do is give me reminders on what it is that I need to do and give me a quick nudge, right? Hold me accountable to doing it. So let's say there was a given day that I didn't do what I wanted to hold myself accountable to and what I had this VA hold myself accountable to, then I'd actually have to pay them money out of my pocket. And that is an external, that's a monetary consequence. Now that might sound really weird. It might sound really sad, but that's like the reality of human nature, is that we don't always treat ourselves, we don't always prioritize ourselves, hold ourselves accountable to things as well as other people do, or as well as when there's a consequence at play, right? That's why if anyone comes to you and puts a gun to your head, you will do absolutely anything that they tell you to do. And you're motivated based on that consequence. Whereas if someone dangles a $100 bill in front of you and says, hey, go do XYZ, even if they had $1 million check written out for you and said, hey, over the next 1 year, 2 years, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, there is a significantly lower likelihood that you'll actually be able to execute those things, no matter how big that reward is, whether it's external or intrinsic. Lastly, because I don't want to keep this video too long, it's that you are treating your business that can have the potential to have massive enterprise value as this little side hustle. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a side hustle, but too many people treat a business that can generate life-changing wealth for themselves and their families as this little side hustle where they're flipping products online. That is not the case. You can solve big problems that people have through the form of providing your products as solutions, and you can put a level of time and focus and attention into it that gives you so much more leverage than any other thing that you have ever done in your life to make money. Because you can spend an entire year falling on your face, testing products, failing miserably, and then finally finding one product that solves a specific product for a specific type of person. And then you can start making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, let's say in revenue, with a couple $1,000s a month in profit. Now, most people at their job, they're getting a couple $1,000s a month in profit, and that's it, right? They make that money, they get taxed on it, whatever. With a business, if you make a couple $1,000s a month in profit consistently for 1 or 2 years, you can sell that for a multiple of the annual profit. So your $70,000 a year job, for example, it doesn't compound. You just pay taxes on it. And if you lose that job, you lose that income source. Now with your business, if you make $70,000 a year, you could sell that for a 3, 4, 5x multiple. So you could literally sell that for $300,000. And if you did have a $70,000 job that now replaced, you would just get back 5 years of your life based on the valuation, right? The enterprise value of that company. And not a lot of people think that you can sell an e-commerce business, but you totally can. I have friends that have sold e-commerce businesses for over $10 million. I've sold my own businesses for multi 5 figures. Nothing crazy, but enough to where the amount of money that I made in a year for that business, I was able to sell that business for in a matter of like days, weeks. And that's not always realistic for everyone selling their dropshipping business, but especially if you go from a dropshipping business to a brand and you actually obtain inventory and you have higher, asset value and things like that, you can sell a business for so much more than what you might think right now if you treat it like a real business and not like a dinky little side hustle dropshipping store. Now, a lot of people ask me what's the difference between a store and a brand, and I'll probably make a whole separate video around this. But what I've come to terms with in terms of my definition of the difference between a dropshipping store and a brand is that a store focuses on product and a brand focuses on customer, right? So it's more customer centric and focused as opposed to product centric and focused, right? So most drop shippers are trying to find that winning product that's going to sell really well. And then when that dies out, they're going to try to find the next one, right? The way that we try to do things here is we try to find that product, but then really brand it, improve the quality of it, speak to our customers, ask what things about the product they like, what things they don't like, ask what other products they want us to come out with. And then once we have a product line that really serves one customer, that solves their problems, and we're actually interacting and talking to them in a way where we're learning how we can better serve them and make more money at the same time, that's when you become a brand, right? When you start talking in terms of how can I serve my customer instead of how can I get that $2,000 or $3,000 a day. And those things don't have to be exclusive, right? Generally, when you're a brand, you talk about both. You have the revenue milestones, but you also have the customer NPS score, satisfaction score, those milestones as well. And generally, once you start talking in terms of those metrics, you'll inevitably make more money. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. Truth is there's no secret to e-commerce success. Yes, you'll want to follow the right strategies, but it all comes down to having grit, not being able to fail and make mistakes, and simply doubling down on what works and avoiding what doesn't. And everyone's timeline is different, but the harder that you work and the better people that you surround yourself with that are doing similar things, the faster you'll make things happen for yourself and your business. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope to see you in the next one.